Look at a typical student's desk a month before a major exam. Towers of textbooks, scattered highlighters, and hundreds of loose notes create a physical wall of information. Faced with that sheer volume of material, the brain often defaults to a state of total paralysis. Trying to absorb this entire mountain of data at once guarantees failure. The cognitive load simply crushes your focus. To break out of that paralysis, you have to manufacture an immediate sense of control. Former Navy SEAL Admiral William McRaven built a philosophy around surviving environments designed to break human resolve. His central rule for passing an impossible test, or changing the world, starts with completing the first mundane task of your morning. He calls it the Make Your Bed protocol. In basic training, every morning begins with inspecting a recruit's bed. The requirement is absolute perfection: squared corners, tightly pulled covers, centered pillows. Executing this simple physical task flawlessly establishes a baseline of order. Completing one task with precision provides a small hit of pride, which gives you the momentum to tackle the next, slightly harder cognitive task. Mastering those first 5 minutes of the day has nothing to do with neatness. It provides a concrete anchor of personal agency. When the exam material makes you feel powerless, you prove to yourself that you are capable of executing a standard. This diagram illustrates what psychologists call the illusion of competence. When you passively read or highlight a textbook, information flows smoothly into your short-term memory. But because you never practice retrieving it, the output line is severed. You mistake recognizing the text for knowing it. To fix this, we apply investor Naval Ravikant's concept of the steel frame of understanding. True learning requires mastering first principles and underlying logic, rather than relying on rote memorization. You have to build a solid structural blueprint in your mind. If you memorize isolated facts without understanding the logic that connects them, your mental architecture collapses the moment a test question twists the scenario. Without the conceptual hooks of a steel frame, new facts bounce right off and are instantly forgotten under pressure. Earl Nightingale famously observed that we become what we think about. A mind scattered by anxiety yields chaotic results, but a mind anchored to a progressive, structural goal absorbs information efficiently. Your readiness for an exam is never measured by the raw quantity of hours you spent highlighting pages. It is measured entirely by the structural integrity of the mental models you have built. To stress test the integrity of that steel frame, you have to subject your knowledge to the active recall protocol. The mechanics are specific. Read a complex section. Then, close the book, look entirely away from your screen, and explain the hardest concept aloud. Explain it using simple words, as if teaching a 5-year-old. If you hesitate, stumble, or rely on textbook jargon to get through your explanation, you have just located a failure point. That hesitation exposes a missing rivet in your foundational knowledge. Exposing these weak points before you sit down for the real exam is the exact purpose of active studying. You are turning the uncomfortable experience of failing a recall prompt into a highly precise diagnostic tool. Even with a perfect morning routine and active recall, you will eventually face an arbitrary setback. You will prepare meticulously, take a practice test, and still bomb it completely. In Navy SEAL training, the sugar cookie teaches a hard truth. Instructors find an imaginary flaw in a perfect uniform, forcing recruits into the freezing surf until covered in thick, wet sand. Perfection doesn't grant immunity. Get over it and keep moving forward. During deep fatigue, the temptation to quit peaks. In SEAL training, that temptation is a brass bell in the compound. Ringing it instantly stops the pain, the cold, and the stress. But ringing it also guarantees permanent failure. Passing a high-stakes exam requires more than intellect. If you anchor your morning with immediate momentum, build a steel frame of logical understanding, and survive the sugar cookies without ever ringing the bell, you will conquer the test.